Neo Rackham Book 1, Ego Trip, by Eric Malachite. The body smelled like its owner hadn't known the meaning of personal hygiene, even before they had flatlined. Wires and wireless transmitters snaked their way out of the corpse's shaved head, obscuring the metal grating of the storage container like some fucked-up rendition of Rapunzel locked in her tower. The victim's full immersion and encryption implants clung to what was left of his brain and skull as the skin and muscle tissue decayed around ageless metal. The implants were all black market, the kind that were an easy TOS violation, that you could find on the dark web with the right contacts, the kind Detective Kai Shen had seen on countless brain-hacked victims before. The corpse's eyes were open, his face transfixed in the purest expression of ecstasy. "Jesus fuck," Detective Frakes said. "How long do you think he was like that?" Shen sent a mental command to his cybernetic implant, bringing up a 3D wire mesh that covered the victim's body like a digital topography map. The scanner did its job, analyzing everything in the storage container, from the air temperature and the corpse's body temp, to the decomposition of the victim's body and organs. The body was still in rigor mortis. "Scanner shows he's been dead for at least 24 hours, if not a little longer." "I meant in the chair," Tanesha said. "His muscles have greatly atrophied," Shen said, backing away from the shipping container and, consequently, the smell. "See those feeding tubes? The catheter? I'd guess that he spent most of his life in that chair. Possibly made his living on the dark web running cybersecurity. Maybe something more extreme. We'll have to comb through his contacts to establish any TOS violations that might have been made during the victim's life." "Not much of a life living off that paste." Shen nodded. "There are a lot of open memory splice drives here. He was probably living them as much as he was dealing them." "God, I hate mem splicers." Shen nodded again. "Gotta be tough," Detective Frakes said, "getting all those implants. They knocked me out cold just for the basic RMPD interface module. Can't imagine what it'd be like to replace anything else more important." "They say it's no more invasive than getting a booster shot." Shen remembered the robot arm drilling microscopic holes in his skull while he'd been strapped to a padded operating table. How the arm had whined and beeped as if alive, as it had implanted those tiny fiber-optic wires into his brain. They'd said it was a basic procedure, barely any anesthetic needed. But there had been pain. Lots of it. That only reflects some of the cases. When I woke up with my new eye, I had the worst headache of my life, like someone jabbed a tack knife right through my eye. "Technically, someone did," she started chuckling, until she saw the unamused look on his face. "Right. Sorry. In any case, we'll get a better idea once we get the techs down here to data mine all this hardware. Maybe get a look inside his brain if it isn't too fried." "You think he had something to do with Trick's death?" Shen took a deep breath of Lake Eugene's putrid air, nearly gagged. He almost preferred the air cycling through the turbines in that shipping container. Earlier that morning, they'd gotten an anonymous tip that a body had been discovered at the Burnout, a motel in the heart of Neo Rackham's slum district where a lot of TOS violators go to hide out. The body was hogtied to the bed, sodomized, and gagged. The cauterized holes in the victim's chest, mouth, and skull suggested that the victim was either forced to engage in some kind of demeaning sexual act by the killer or, more likely, was found like that by the murderer. Ray Trick Akagi was one of the lead designers who worked on the popular VR role-playing game Battle for Drogon. Looking up info on the game, it appeared to be a total immersion experience that used the latest, most expensive VR implants. Word was, some kids were taking out loans to pay for the tech, plunging them deep into debt with Rackham Media Amalgamated. Total Immersion VR was previously a non-public technology. Military corporations and private security companies used them to run high-end simulations for various scenarios and training. "Kai," Tanesha said, snapping her fingers in front of his good eye. "I asked you a question." Shen nodded, took a glance at the rusted exterior of the shipping container. "No, I don't think he's the murderer. But Akagi's VR implant was accessed by this place," Tanesha said. "Isn't it possible that they took each other out? You honestly think a guy like that would let his location be so easily discovered?" Tanesha rolled her eyes. "Maybe. What kind of idiot lets himself get confined to a chair?" "The kind that prefers the digital world to the real one." "Okay, then how is he not our guy? I'd be willing to bet that's a smokescreen meant to throw us off the real killer's tracks. Battle for Drogon's studio is owned by a subsidiary of Rackham Media Amalgamated. No surprise there. Figures they wouldn't worry about the non-compete clause if nepotism is involved. Isn't it run by Eugene Rackham's son? I just got into the studio's HR directory. You sure you should be doing that? Eugene Rackham has zombied RMPD officers for less than breaking into an HR directory without proper clearance, and he's notorious for being overprotective of his son. They won't be able to track this program. If you say so, it's your ass, not mine. Frakes was giving him a look he did not like. Ringlets of her hair blew in the breeze. Her brown eyes and pale, freckled skin glistened in the morning glow of the rising sun. Her grin, practiced to such a degree that Shen had to make sure her skin wasn't plastic. Detective Tanesha Frakes had been assigned as his new partner a little over a month ago. From what he'd been able to gather about her so far, she was a loyalist to Rackham Media and cared little about the fates of the TOS violators she'd collared. There was little doubt in his mind that she had been assigned to him to watch his every move. He'd have to be careful with her, learn her moves, her habits, everything. Seems Akagi had a history of harassing underage Battle for Drogon players, Shen said. Gross, Frakes said. The company was sweeping it under the rug. Why kill him, though? Decent people don't live in Neo Rackham. That's what we get paid the bite cash for, isn't it? I think the colloquialism was big bucks. Whatever. Shen walked back to his cruiser, Tanesha following close behind. There was something in the air, and it wasn't the toxic waste they'd been dumping in the river since the end of the last Great War. The lake had a putrid, almost gray color to it. Since Milky Way Unlimited launched a solar sail that blocked a portion of the sun's light into orbit around the Earth, the Corp states felt they'd done enough to reverse climate change. Rackham Media was nearly unapologetic in their dumping of toxic waste. He sank into the cockpit and ran his biometrics through the security system. Where are we headed now, partner? Frakes asked. Back to HQ, Shen said. I've already sent a message to the techs. We'll have to wait for them to bag and tag everything and give us a positive ID on the victim. Kai, they don't actually bag and tag stuff anymore, Frakes said. I'm aware. Once he got the green light from the console, he pressed start. The ion engine came to life, and the cruiser glided off the ground. He could never get used to how silent these new generation sky transport vehicles, skykars for short, were. The only sound that the cruiser made was the hum from the fusion reactor that powered the ion engines and made it possible for the thing to fly. The cruiser rose above the docks, offering a view of Neo Rackham's central mega skyscrapers, stabbing into the smog layers and towering high above even the tallest clouds. The smog threatened to blot out the neon lights dancing on the buildings, but failed to block the holographic adverts from reading his implant and trying to stuff everything from sex changes. Haven't you ever wondered what it'd be like to be a woman, Detective Kai-Shen? Our packages are completely reversible and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Embrace your feminine side. To VR vacations. Take this luxurious 2-day, 3-night vacation to Mars. See Olympus Mons without the hassle of space travel, all in the span of an afternoon. To skykars. Wouldn't you like to fly home in a state-of-the-art Gex 7 Series Skycar? Retire that old cruiser, Detective Kai-Shen. We've got financing packages available and insurance to cover you if a nasty perp causes you to wreck. Rackham Engineering is the only company that delivers same day. Guaranteed! Right down his throat. Rackham Media kept exclusive rights to track a user's physical and Rackham social activity, no matter how private those actions were supposed to be. Occasionally, those crawlers would stumble onto TOS violations and alert RMPD of the offense if it was bad enough. It took some hefty hacking skills to keep the crawlers from weeding their way into your files. Shen always made sure to keep certain aspects of his implant firewalled, but kept superfluous data open to the crawlers so no one got suspicious of what he might be hiding. No, it wasn't the smog. This wasn't a case of mutually assured destruction. He was sure of it.